Today, we'll discuss the shocking discovery that hedera could be used for remittances in South Korea. Dixenter, a worldwide blockchain organization based in South Korea, published an article on November 4 describing how Shinhan Bank, South Korea's oldest bank, is actively participating in the digital asset market by examining the issuance of won-based stablecoins. In case you're unfamiliar with the won, it's South Korea's native fiat currency. In collaboration with international enterprises, Shinhan Bank is experimenting with the issuance of won-based stablecoins. There are stablecoins that are pegged to the dollar one-to-one, such as Tether, but no won-based stablecoins have been released yet. We are testing the issue of won-based stablecoins based on the hedera hashgraph public blockchain and using them for overseas remittances, said Shinhan Bank Assistant Vice President Hee Sung-yoon. At this moment, I can't tell for sure whether we'll proceed to the commercialization stage, says the researcher. Shinhan Bank is South Korea's oldest bank and, as of April 2021, a member of the Hedera Governing Council. The bank's participation on the Hashgraph organization's governing council necessitates the bank actively owning a hedera node, implying that the bank plays an active role in delivering consensus to the hedera network. Shinhan Bank's cooperation in stablecoin development makes a lot of sense in terms of improving the seamlessness of remittance payments into the country. Specifically, the huge sums of remittance monies that enter the country on an annual basis, with South Korea receiving over $9 billion in remittances alone in 2020, according to the World Bank. Despite the large amounts of remittances that enter the country, current remittance payment organizations, such as Western Union and MoneyGram, demand high transaction fees to remittance senders. In the instance of Western Union, receivers typically receive about 8% less than what was originally delivered. Furthermore, the remittance market is extremely rigorous, with it taking 1 to 2 business days to connect a bank account online, followed by additional days for the recipient to obtain the funds at a physical location and complete the necessary documentation. These high fees will inevitably reduce the amount of money coming into the country via remittances. The Shinhan Bank stablecoin effort will eliminate the intermediary in remittance payment systems, allowing a payer to transmit funds to a payee in the form of a won stablecoin while avoiding the requirement for pre-funding and incurring minimum transaction fees. The elimination of pre-funding or transaction fees will free up more capital, allowing remittance payment receivers to receive more remittances and so have more disposable income. Because of hedera's quick transaction capacity, low transaction fees, and high finality rate, Shinhan Bank's intention to establish a stablecoin on the hedera network could potentially be the greatest way of providing a mechanism for remittance payments. Hedera's consensus service can validate over 10,000 transactions per second and provide consensus finality in 2 to 3 seconds. Hedera's fast transaction and finality capabilities would be very appealing and appropriate for a remittance payment system. The plentiful transaction verification capability connected with hedera would allow for the seamless validation of billions of dollars in remittances while also ensuring low transaction fees. For example, verifying a transaction using the hedera consensus service costs as little as $0.0001. The South Korean government has enacted a measure ensuring carbon neutrality by 2050, owing to the inherent attributes linked with the hedera's consensus service. The National Assembly passed the Climate Crisis Response Act, which requires a 35% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 compared to 2018. The reduction objective of 35% is 9 percentage points more than the country's prior pledge. South Korea's robust determination to achieving net zero emissions by 2050 is demonstrated by the increased target of over 35% by 2030, the South Korean Ministry of Environment stated in a statement. With South Korea taking the lead in fighting the climate catastrophe and enacting legislation to minimize carbon emissions, a remittance payment infrastructure would almost have to follow suit. Shinhan Bank is championing and developing a hedera network-powered stablecoin remittance system that would actively follow the South Korean government's carbon neutrality mandate. Hedera is the most eco-friendly DLT network currently on the market, according to a research report authored by a hedera governing council member, University College London, entitled, Energy Footprint of Blockchain Consensus Mechanisms Beyond Proof of Work. In comparison to the payment processor behemoth Visa, hedera's network uses much less energy to execute transactions, according to the report. Visa needs 0.003 kWh of energy every transaction, but the hedera network uses 0.0001 kWh of energy each transaction because to the usage of hashgraph technology. Hedera's outstanding energy consumption capabilities, which put it ahead of the likes of payment processor behemoth Visa, make it a standalone project capable of not just processing massive amounts of transactions per second but also doing so in an environmentally friendly manner. Hedera is a carbon-negative network at its core, in addition to the low energy consumption associated with transaction validation on the Hedera network. Hedera's ambition to be carbon negative is being powered by the company's quarterly acquisition of carbon offsets. The Hedera network's carbon negative property will ensure that a stablecoin infrastructure designed by Shinhan Bank complies with the South Korean government's carbon neutrality standards. Shinhan Bank is planning to use Hedera's public network to create a stablecoin. The demand for HBAR tokens will rise as more remittances enter South Korea, primarily to act as gas for such acts. Updates to the Hedera network were made on October 19. The update is formally known as Hedera Services v0.19.1 and can be found on GitHub. The Hedera smart contract service was migrated to the Hyperledger BSU EVM in this latest edition. This allows us to support the most recent v0.8.9 Solidity contracts and aligns our gas schedule with the London hard forks. The BSU migration also paves the way for a significant improvement in Hedera smart contract performance. The Hedera network's Hyperledger BSU EVM integration necessitates the building of a new, high-performance database for state storage. Hyperledger BSU EVM's updates to databases and storage are aimed at improving the smart contract-based platform speed and cost-effectiveness. Updates to the smart contract service have resulted in major pricing modifications, the most notable of which is that it now costs as little as $1 to create a smart contract and $0.026 to update one. When compared to the Ethereum smart contract service, these amazing price schemes are amplified even further. According to a Twitter website I came on, a developer who developed a smart contract using the Ethereum network had to pay $436 in gas fees. The developer also indicated that fees may be considerably higher, particularly if an error in the smart contract's coding occurred, in which case additional payments would be required to amend the smart contract. In comparison to the Hedera network, where fees are preset and priced in dollars, Ethereum's gas prices are solely determined by the fraction of traffic that occurs on the network. As a result, fees will be significantly more variable and ultimately pricier. The Hyperledger BSU EVM integration, as previously indicated, has improved the scalability of smart contract offers. As a result of these improvements, smart contract transaction actions can now be scaled to hundreds of transactions per second. As a result of this feature, the Hedera network will be able to validate a wide range of smart contract operations, making it an attractive platform for developers looking to create and deploy smart contracts. In the Hedera Services update, it was also announced that Solidity contracts will be enabled on Hedera, and that gas schedules will be harmonized, as seen in the recently adopted Ethereum London hard fork, which is aimed at lowering transaction volatility on the Ethereum network. The Ethereum network's native support for Solidity smart contracts will be able to be moved to the Hedera network. Smart contracts can now be actively transferred between networks, thanks to upgrades to the Hedera network as a whole, as well as the use of blockchain technology. Hashport is an enterprise-grade public utility that facilitates the rapid, secure, and cost-effective flow of digital assets between decentralized networks, making it an ideal component for maintaining data portability and connectivity between decentralized networks. Hashport recently stated that it will serve as a bridge between the Hedera, Ethereum, and Polygon DLT networks, namely through Hedera's Hyperledger BSU EVM-based network. Interoperability, which will eventually lead to the development of a bridge between such DLTs, will allow crypto assets to be actively transferred from one network to another and used in dApps running on the target network. Wrapped HBAR, ETH, and Matic tokens, as well as other Hashport-allowed tokens and smart contracts, are among the assets that can be transferred. Enterprises will be able to actively communicate datasets between multiple DLT networks by using Hashport to lock crypto assets with the various networks it supports. This element will hasten the global adoption of decentralized networks and decentralized applications, dApps, linked to various blockchain networks. The creation and implementation of the Hashport platform to enable the active capability of facilitating interoperability and communication between networks will act as a motivator for the Hedera network's overall adoption. Hashport will enable the opportunity for enterprises and large entities to use the platform for the sharing and transfer of datasets between DLTs, as well as access a number of token services for their activities, thanks to its enterprise-focused design. Hedera's smart contract pricing scheme has been significantly updated, as well as its smart contract transaction capabilities and the integration of Hashport's interoperability platform. Hedera's network might see a substantial influx of developers, particularly those who are currently using Ethereum. The possibility of more developers migrating to the Hedera network will invariably boost the network's utility. Smart contract development and other related acts will necessitate the use of HBAR tokens as a fuel to make such measures possible. Hedera will continue to be the go-to platform for enterprise utilities as a result of this element, and the platform may eventually become a hub for smart contract execution. In addition to these exciting achievements, Hedera's consensus and token service will be used by an unnamed Fortune 10 firm. Thousands of organizations are expected to use the product as a result of the Fortune 10 company's use of Hedera's network. The numerous advances surrounding the Hedera network may have influenced the company's decision to choose the Hedera network over alternative DLTs. Especially in cases when the Hedera token service has been updated, allowing for the direct integration of smart contracts into programmable tokens. With the countless amount of beautiful qualities that Hedera intrinsically possesses, as well as the large number of organizations that have a direct association with the DLT organization, such as UCL, the London School of Economics, Google, and Tata Communications, to name a few. Hedera is slowly but steadily becoming a global center for innovation, and the network could be a forerunner in the upcoming global DLT revolution. How do you feel about Hedera's smart contract updates? Will Hedera be able to compete with Ethereum in the long run?